there's not one indication anywhere as to where it might be.
So we're out for a little adventure today, and we've been lucky enough to have our great friend here, Robin Holmes, who's going to take us around and show us some amazing places in the countryside of the local area. But it's a very frosty morning. Everything is frozen. You can see the road down here. And there's Robin. How many people a year you think come up here? 10?
I've been coming for about 20 years and I've only met 3 people in 20 years.
Okay.
There are lots of reports that through Victorian times into the early 20th century, this was a meeting place for local people to come to for merrymaking, as would have been the phrase. But it was a central point, I think, in previous generations for people to make pilgrimages, to walk out here, to have picnics, to just enjoy themselves. And that probably has been lost now because it's so remote.
And the story about the fairy trees are interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
You shouldn't cut them down.
Absolutely, it's supposed to bring a lot of bad luck. And all sorts of other myths and stories about fairy trees which farmers would have found if they attempted to plough around them and cut a few of them down. There's stories that their herd stopped milking within a month and that their crops didn't yield properly for another 10 years. It's well documented in Irish mythology. So even to this time there's a great respect for fairy trees, and the general feeling is to leave them alone, which when you think about it makes good ecological sense anyway.
That's right.
I mean, why would you want to cut one of these lovely trees down?
All right, Ken, we're in another place with a bunch of stones. What is this about?
It's history, George. I spent 35 years teaching it and enjoying it. Come on, get yourself into the mood for it.
So how old are these bunch of stones here?
They are 6,000 years old.
So why should I care that this place is here 6,000 years ago?
Because it tells us a lot about the history of the area. There are mainly to be found these burial mounds and cairns in the north of Northern Ireland. There are over 300 of them, and this was where funerals took place.
Okay, I guess funerals are important in people's lives, especially at the end of it.
Well, very much so, yes. And there are no written records, obviously, of that period, so archaeology is the key to discovering what all of this is about. Now, this land here, it's called Dewey's Cairn, and the reason it's called Dewey's Cairn is because in 1975 he gave this land to the state, and the state have looked after it since.
Why, George, this is called Taroni Dolman. It's a little bit like a baby dolmen. It sits beautifully just at the turn of this road here. It's very accessible for people. Very few people know about it, but I think it's very picturesque, and there's some lovely old period housing here going back to the 18th century. There's an old farmhouse here, and then there's a very old rectory just past it. And it is very possible to get a spectacular photograph. I got one a few years ago of the sun literally sitting on top of the dolmen.
It's this image over here, from this spot right here, over to the trees. Beautiful picture.
There's something like 6,000 years of history here, really, I think. And then you have the wind farm.
Right behind it.
Yeah, it's a great juxtaposition of technology, really, isn't it? Ancient times to the modern. And this Corkern is gorgeous in April, May, because there are gorse bushes growing out of it, and you can see just a little bit of the blossom trying to burst through. If you take a walk around it, George, there's actually a further chamber further on back, and you can sort of walk right through it. So it's very well preserved, and the stones are beautifully sort of upright.
So as the sun sets behind me at the core tomb of Tammany Rankin, we'd like to thank you for watching another of our videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And it's very important, don't forget to press the bell icon on your notifications so you know exactly when the next video is coming up. We'll see you next time.